I'm Kerry from Empower, and I'm joined today by Nicola, one of our business club members. Hi, Nicola.
Hello.
So we're going to have a chat this morning with Nicola about what she does and how she finds being a member of business clubs. So Nicola, tell us about you and your business.
My business. So I am a singer, an actor, and I present and do a bit of modelling as well, as and when it comes. I run a business called Live Music North Limited, which kind of encompasses a couple of bands. One is a rock and roll function band, and the other is a more kind of stripped back soul duo or trio. And we perform at things like weddings, corporate events, private parties, anywhere where we can get people up dancing, really. That's what we love. And then the presenting work and acting work, kind of, anything that comes along, really. I like to be busy, I like to be creative, and I like working with people. I like entertaining people. And I think from a performing aspect, it's just giving people that opportunity to escape a little bit and disconnect, which is incredibly important, especially at the moment.
Have you always done this? Has this been your kind of career from a very early age, or how did you get into it?
Yes and no. So I've always performed and sung. My first instrument was trumpet. Right. I started playing trumpet when I was, I think, probably about 6 or 7. And my dream from when I was a kid was to be a jazz trumpet player. So I started playing in big bands and local jazz bands. I had an incredible teacher right from when I was 6 or 7, right up until I was 15. And he was just, he was incredible. And he taught me a lot, and he got me involved in the local concert bands and jazz bands. And as I got older, I started to do more singing. And then the bands that I was in, I ended up singing for as well. And it just kind of went from there and through to musical theatre. And I guess I have always done it. I think when I was younger, as much as it was the only thing I ever wanted to do, and I couldn't see myself doing anything different, I don't think it was probably till I was an adult that I actually believed I could, and to actually make a business out of it. But yeah.
What was your inspiration to be a jazz trumpet player? Where did it come from?
Well, I loved playing trumpet, and my mum always tells me that I always wanted to play trumpet, even from when I was young. Even when I sung when I was younger, trumpet I always wanted to play. And I loved listening to. So when I was younger, I lived with my nana and granddad quite a bit. So a lot of the music that we listened to was quite old for a little person to kind of be into. We watched a lot of old films, a lot of old musicals, and so growing up, I loved listening to people like Billie Holiday, Dizzy Gillespie, Louis Armstrong, people like that. And I'd see them playing the trumpet, and there was no girl trumpet players, so I wanted to be a famous female trumpet player. And growing up in Scarborough, we're very fortunate to have a really rich kind of music education and musical opportunities, and awesome teachers, to be honest, on the music and drama front. So there was always, I just remember there's always music on in our house. The radio is always on, when somebody's up in my nan and granddad's house or my parents' house, because the radio's on. So I think probably from there, really. People had posters of boy bands and Take That, and there was me with Audrey Hepburn and Dizzy Gillespie on my wall, which is very nerdy, but I just love that music. It just transports you somewhere. So
Cool. And how did you? So you obviously studied this then. Did you kind of have a vision of what your career, your business would be? Because you do various different things now, don't you, as part of your services?
Yeah, I had no idea, and I still have no idea a lot of the time. I just I go with my gut and I go with my heart, and sometimes it leads me in a wonky direction, and other times, for the most part, it leads me to a good place, and that's what I try to do. So I think I finished secondary school. I studied music and drama, and then I desperately wanted to go to drama school, but I didn't, because it just wasn't, an option for me at that time, financially or talent wise. I just didn't have the what was needed at that time. So I did performing arts BTEC at what was part of Yorkshire Coast College. So essentially triple threat. You do singing, dancing, acting. And then I got into a drama school in the Midlands, stayed there for a year, and then when I was 18, almost 19, I'd been travelling backwards and forwards from London every other weekend from there, which, as you can imagine, even back then was incredibly expensive. So I'd already moved out quite young, so I had 2 jobs. My parents at the time very kindly paid for that first year of drama school, and I funded everything else. And then I just said, right, well, I'm traveling to London every other week, so might as well move there. So I did, and lived there for 12 years, working, auditioning, taking classes. I'd auditioned back then as well for universities and to do a kind of formal degree, but nothing really felt right at the time. There was just, I very much felt like a square peg in a round hole, and I strongly believe in not doing things for the sake of it. A lot of my friends went to university and did degrees, and that's, that was whatever their choice was, and it was right for them at the time, but it just didn't feel right for me. So yeah, I moved to London and did all sorts, really. When I was working part-time while I was at drama school in the Midlands, I started working for O2, which kind of sparked my curiosity for technology and helping people. So I've worked since I was a kid. I've had a job since I was 12. So I don't know life without working or grafting in some respect. I can't not work. And yeah, but I really like technology and working with people. I had a great manager at the time, someone I still speak to now and ask for advice, and that's nearly 15 years later. She's probably one of the best people leaders and managers I know, is Rachel. And yeah, just kind of, as I say, followed whatever I needed to do from there. From then on, I worked part-time for Apple. Really enjoyed working for Apple. I worked in the flagship store at Regent Street and became a trainer for them and a technician. So fixing computers and phones and taking things apart and seeing how they worked. But I met some incredible people, both customers and colleagues. There's a lot of creative people that work at Apple, as you probably had at Microsoft as well. It's just such a hub and a hive of kind of activity and inspiration and just personality. And it taught me a lot, working there, and the people that I worked with and the opportunities that it gave me were really cool. And then I found vocal tech, and it was a degree that was specifically around the voice, and I thought, ooh, this looks interesting. I'd been studying musical theatre on and off. I'd done some classes at the Royal Academy of Music and I'd loved it, but again, I adore musical theatre, but I think at that time there was just something that wasn't working. I was pushing myself and squeezing myself into these situations where actually I didn't feel massively comfortable. And I thought, this isn't right. As much as I love dance, as much as I love singing and acting, it doesn't feel right now. And so I went and did my degree in voice, and I absolutely loved it. At the end, I met my band, I did music business, I studied performance psychology, all the while I was working at Apple, and did some backing vocals for some really cool original artists, and we got to do little tours and just festivals. It was just a real mixed bag of basically doing anything that came my way, often for free, but I didn't care because I loved it. And I was performing with equals, I was performing with friends, and it was a really cool time. And then in between my second and my third year, I got a contract working out in Greece to be a resident vocalist with my then guitarist Dan as a duo. And we spent 6 months there. Which was huge for us, because we had to go out there with a minimum of 300 songs.
Right. Wow.
So in about 2 months from getting the job to flying out, I mean, we had a good bank of songs, but we didn't have 300. So we had 300 songs to learn, and we worked 6 days a week, and we had a minimum of three 45-minute sets to do a day, 1 day off a week, and then you'd have PR before and after with the guests, and so it was a big job for us, and it certainly taught us a lot in terms of stamina, kind of customer relations. I mean, I love working with people anyway. I can talk with anybody till the cows come home. I love learning about other people and kind of what makes them tick. So it was a really nice environment, and ultimately I met my now husband there as well. And yeah, then we came back and I finished my degree. George moved out here the following year. And I guess that was it. Then we carried on working in London and gigging, and I performed with a really cool band called The Stowe, and we got to perform at Glastonbury, which was incredible, probably one of my most favourite gigs ever. And just lots of just lovely experiences that I'm incredibly grateful for, that kind of really shaped the artist I am now, and very much shaped the kind of business that I wanted to create, in terms of how I operate and how I look after clients. So a number of the weddings that I've done since then are couples that we met in Greece, because the resort that we were at was an adults only. So a lot of the time it was couples, maybe either on kind of, they got engaged there, or it was one of their early holidays. And then what was really lovely is they got in touch later and said, would you perform at our wedding, which we were honoured to do, of course. And so I do wear lots of hats, but I think the commonality is people, and understanding people, and trying to create a beautiful personalized service for them that they trust, they feel safe, they know what they're getting and what it's going to be like. And that's because we listen, and we do our best to kind of understand what they need and what they want. And if we're not right for the job, I'm always happy to recommend someone that I know and trust. But I think from a music perspective, that's how I've come to this kind of last year or 2 years, and what's contributed to me and the reasons behind creating Live Music North, I guess.
Brilliant. And you must have, you've obviously had ups and downs, I guess, and success, and
Oh,
you've
yeah.
grown. How have you handled, assuming you've had a lot of people say no, when you're having all these auditions and stuff, how do you pick yourself back up again after all that?
I think the coping mechanisms have changed over the years. I think when I was much younger, I would have very, very much taken it to heart. So I remember when I first started my degree, we had to perform live every week with the band. And I ended up in my first year suffering from really crippling nerves. So much so I ended up with a spasm in my jaw from grinding my teeth, and I couldn't sing for a number of weeks. I lost my voice due to stress twice, but that led me to doing more work on performance psychology and how can I help myself, how can I help others. And as I've gotten older, and it's taken a long time, I think, and it's not happened overnight, and it's not always been a conscious decision. I think it's happened millimeter by millimeter. You learn to care less about, not about other people's opinions, in that you want to do less of a job and therefore it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It's more so learning which comments to take on board and how to take them and who to take them from. I mentioned, I think, on the Empower feed somewhere, one of the worst things anybody ever said, which absolutely crushed me at the time, was somebody said I sounded like a bag of cats fighting when I sing. And they put that on TripAdvisor. And my guitarist laughs at me. He's like, "Nick, you'll never let that go, will you?" And I'm like, "No, because right now I find it really funny that somebody would go out of their way to say something so cruel." But then, you never know where people are coming from. And I think with any creative job, with any creative art form, it's so subjective, and you can't possibly go into it. No matter how talented you are, no matter how much training you are, or who's trained you, or experience under your belt, there will always be a considerable amount of people that don't like you. And it's not personal, because they don't know you as a person. They're judging what they see and what they feel from your performance. And ultimately, whether you think you did well or you don't, the reason that we do this as performers is because we enjoy making people feel, and you can't always make people feel good. People will react the way that they react, and I would be more disappointed if people felt nothing, from either singing, acting, or presenting. If they felt numb, that's when I know I'm failing. If they don't feel anything and it's just a bit like, yeah, was what it was, then I know I need to work harder. Something needs to change. But I think you grow a thicker skin, and it's not that you don't care when people don't like what you do. You just learn how to use it, I think. You can box it away, or it can drive you. But again, it depends who's saying those things and the volume at which you choose to read what you read, you choose to absorb what you absorb, and you choose how you take it. And you can't not, otherwise you will end up crippled, and you'll never get to the place that you want to get creatively, because you're constantly concerned with whether people like you.
I think when you kind of, women running their own business, you can relate to that in lots of ways. Your business is you, isn't it? And even more so when you do what you do, because you produce the thing and you are the thing.
Yeah.
But I think with every business, that's probably the case, really, isn't it? And it's often quite hard to just have that courage to put yourself out there and
Mhm.
think, oh, well, they'll not think I'm any good or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, being able to overcome that and just, yeah, know your thing, take it on board, but move on, I guess, is, it's a big part of defining what our own success is, really, and what our own
Yeah.
measures are, isn't it? Rather than listening to what everybody else
The
says.
noise. Yeah, and I think with any business, like you say, it doesn't matter what you do. If it's something you've created, whether that be, your brand, your business, whether you're creating a product or a service, it's you. It's your baby, and it's something you've invested your time and your love and your passion in, and you don't do that on a whim. Ultimately, as much as some things feel impulsive, they've always been there. If you're prepared to put that time and effort in, it's always been there, so it matters to you. Yeah, yeah.
And so how have you found COVID? I mean, obviously that stopped you from doing a lot of what you can do, weddings and things you can't
Yeah.
perform in places. How's that been for you over the last year?
I'd be lying if I said it was fun. And I think, I was probably a little bit slow off the mark, but in terms of being proactive around still putting my business out there. So I incorporated Live Music North in February. We went into lockdown in April.
Right.
So, yeah, and a lot of what the music marketing bods were saying is get performing online, put all your services online, and I was really stubborn, and I get that, for some people that feels right, but for me it didn't. And I've over the years I've really learned to listen to my gut, and I didn't want to force myself to do something for the sake of making money. I'm very much, I like being with people. I like networking in person wherever I can, and speaking to my clients in person. I don't, I've never had to do the creative side of my business online, which, in hindsight was in a way probably quite ignorant. I didn't really think that or believe that it was probably going to go on as long as it did.
I don't think any of us did. Yeah. I mean, I remember March last year, everyone being like, "Oh, we'll be out by Easter," and
yeah, we filmed all that. So I got some investment at the beginning, some local investment, which I was incredibly grateful for, and I invested all that in our promo in March. So we had a video done with some awesome creatives, photographs, styling, updated one of my websites, and so when lockdown hit and it just carried on, I was like, okay, this is getting a bit hairy. And so actually what I tried to do was just more reading. I tried to just skill up to kind of keep focused and not kind of lose heart with things that were going on, and kind of focus on the things that I could help, which were my kind of my personal belief system in terms of keeping myself focused and feeling positive, and how can I skill up so that when things do happen, I'm in a really good frame of mind to go at it. So yeah, I read lots. I did online masterclasses, did quite a bit of reading around not just myself, but kind of running a small business and things like that. Joined Empower, and yeah, I think, and then obviously I became pregnant in the August and was quite poorly in my first trimester, which kind of took over everything and put the brakes on everything. And yeah, in that time, I was fortunate enough to get a part-time job at a local supermarket, which I was incredibly grateful for, because it meant that, one, I was working with food, which I also love, and two, I was working with people again, and connecting with people locally, which was lovely. And obviously, that paid for my mortgage when I had little to no other income. And then also started working for another business, doing some customer success management work. And yeah, things are starting to open up again, and it really feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But it's been a strange old year, and I think it'll take a while before we can reflect on it fully and kind of understand what we got from it and what we didn't, I guess.
Well, what about Empower then? You obviously mentioned that you joined Empower. So how are you finding it?
I love it. It's such a gorgeous community of lovely people, and some really interesting businesses. I mentioned before about not, I can train online, I can present online, that's fine, but being me online and connecting with people, was very much out of my comfort zone. And I kind of engaged with it on Facebook a little bit, and dabbled a little bit, and not really kind of went the whole hog. And then you move to the app and your own website, and I was like, stuff it, I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm gonna be brave, I'm gonna go in. And I did, and everybody was so warm and welcoming. And I went to a networking event, which, even right up until pressing the join call button, I was thinking, oh God, like, what am I going to say about my business? I've started it and then I've stopped, and all these lovely ladies have all these incredible businesses, and they're all local and they all know each other, and the usual kind of brain dump that you have when you go to do something out of your comfort zone. But I met Pasha, and I met Geraldine, and who else did I speak to that day? I met Kate, obviously spoke to yourself and Tracy for the first time, and heard about other people's businesses, and just had a lovely chat, which was really, really nice. And I really felt, even after just that first interaction, that I was part of a really special community of women that I could lean on and learn from, and really trust that they actually really support each other. It's not just a fluffy fad. It's genuine support from awesome women. And the workshops that we've done since have been incredibly helpful, especially the Pink Storm Instagram one. There's elements of that I put into place straight away, and literally saw results overnight. Now, I haven't kept some of it up, but that's how powerful it was. And just learning about other people, and kind of seeing other people talk about their business, and finding other people that, large or small, whether they're a one-man band or a family business, watching other people talk about what they do is just, it's really inspiring, and it's really lovely. And it kind of, especially at the moment with COVID, when so many of our businesses are impacted and transitioning and having to make allowances and changes, you very much feel like we're not in the same boat, but we are very much in the same storm, and there's lots of things we can do to support each other, which has been great. And doing the little live lounge the other week was lovely. That was my first gig in a year.
Wow.
Which is just, it's the longest I haven't performed for, and just to see people bopping away to some of the songs, and the joy it brought people, and the banter that we had, and it was just really nice. And it kind of really gave me the little kick up the bum that I needed again. So, you know, it's all these little things that take a small amount of your time that have the biggest impact. So it's been invaluable. And I met another lady as well who we hit it off really well, and I ended up presenting her festival online, which was we wouldn't have crossed paths. I said this on my social media. Had we, I think, it'd been a sheer stroke of luck if we'd have crossed paths, anywhere else. But we didn't. We met through Empower, had a little chat, and I was very fortunate. She trusted me off the bat, bless her. And thankfully it worked out beautifully, and I learnt a lot, she learnt a lot, and it was just really nice, serendipity and whatnot.
I mean, wow, I don't think I need to ask you anything else. A wonderful review and feedback on Empower. And you've got business out of it, as well as meeting other people and the learning that you've picked up. It's exactly what what our mission is for it to be. So
such a short space of time as well. I think I've been on the app maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And as you and Tracy recommend, we log in a little bit every day. Some days you find bits and you end up there longer, as with any social platform. Other days you just check in and see how everyone's doing. But yeah, it's so easy and so personable and genuine. You can't not like it.
Good. That's the quote I'll use. You can't not like it.
In a broad Yorkshire accent as well.
No, it's been lovely to chat to you, and obviously you mentioned that you're pregnant now as well, so you haven't got that long left.
No, he's on his way, I think, so.
We can't wait to see the Empower baby picture.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Nicola. It's lovely to chat to you always.
My pleasure. You too, my love.
We'll speak to you very soon.
Yep.